Now, a motion picture so grand, so magnificent, and so vast, it spans 7,000 years.
No way! Yes way!
But it starts with Bill.
I'm Bill S. Preston!
Who was Joan of Arc?
And Ted.
Noah's wife?
About to embark upon a most unprecedented expedition.
Once they made history.
I must see to it that you die.
Now, they are history. Bill and Ted are dead.
The Bill and Ted Duology is a series of movies that I have watched before when I was a child, but I haven't seen them for such a long time, and I said to myself, well, this could be the best opportunity to re-see them, since apparently the third movie in the series should premiere in 2020, but from what we can see, I think that's not gonna happen. But still, I was curious, and my interest also re-peaked in these two movies after I saw Freaked, another movie from Alex Winter, and from hearing how this guy, Alex Winter, it's interesting to see that Bill and Ted, the two movies, are its action is around Keanu Reeves and Alex Winter's character. And Keanu Reeves is the actor who got more famous during the years. He had amazing success with the Matrix movies and now the John Wick movies. But Alex Winter, I was so surprised to see that this guy is very imaginative. He's got like an art style and an imagination that could be best characterized as 90s aesthetic, something that really influenced the 90s with his imagination. So I was really looking forward to these movies to see how much of his imagination was put in from the other movie of his, Freaked. And I'd like to talk about these two movies separately, but at the same time together. I'll try to review them. In the end, I'll give them separate scores, but at the same time, I want to talk about them individually and at the same time. So, the first movie from 1989, Bill and Ted Excellent Adventure, is about the two main characters who are rockers, and apparently they will become very influential people in the future, and for their future to become possible, they have to pass their history test. And then this is when the time traveling plot of this movie comes into play, when George Carlin's character Rufus brings them a time traveling telephone booth, which helps them take different personalities from history and learn from them how. So their project for the history lesson for them not to fail is how would an important historical figure act if they were brought back to the present. And with the time machine, they go and bring back Genghis Khan, Sigmund Freud, Socrates as they call him during the movie, Billy the Kid, Joan of Arc, Beethoven, and Abraham Lincoln. Oh, and let's not forget Napoleon, who was very funny during the movie. I like to say the 1981 movie was very. I felt it like was very 90s, although it was just near the start of the decade. They weren't even in the new decade, but still the movie felt a lot like something that came from the 90s. So it was for me. I think one of the other reasons that I rewatched these two movies was that I had such a 90s nostalgia kick, and I have to say that this one and the second one were so 90s feeling. Like you could feel the starting of a pretty interesting decade for me. The 90s had like um I think it's called like the last original decade. History will tell if the 2000 and the 2010s will also have their originality, but for the moment, yeah, I have to agree that the 90s were the last original decade, and I had such a nostalgia trip with these two movies. And I have to say, um so from some points of view, the special effects are pretty good for that period. I liked the idea with the time traveling telephone booth. That's clearly an idea taken from Doctor Who, but still they kind of did their own thing with it. They didn't make the phone booth be like something infinite that someone can, well, not infinite space, but something bigger on the inside than on the outside. Although there are some moments where you can clearly see they can't put that many people inside the telephone booth. So yeah, they kind of use some of the Doctor Who elements, but still, I'd also like to say more the interesting part of these two movies are the main characters of Bill and Ted. They are very funny, and they are like, oh my god. So yeah, there were people who used to be like that from back in the 90s, and now people are kind of different now. Still, yeah, I liked it. The movie doesn't take itself too serious, and there are a lot of parts where you could say that wouldn't happen, that people couldn't get away with that if they did that in the real world. But still, I really liked it. I could also see parallels between these two movies and the Wayne's World. That's also a quintessential 90s movie. And I'd say one of the negative parts of the movie was I would have liked that George Carlin's character was more in the first and the second movie. They kind of needed a secondary character, a supporting character in the movie, but I really don't understand why they didn't use George Carlin more in the first one, because at least in the second movie they kind of fixed this issue, not with George Carlin, but with Def's character, played by William Sadler, the Grim Reaper. He did a very good job to play alongside Keanu Reeves and Alex Winter. Yeah, the second movie, for example, I think it was more of a kind of not really a retread of the old one, because they did some references to the first movie, but at the same time it kind of has its own identity. From some points of view, you could say that they even taken some ideas from Terminator 2, when now this time they sent two robots which look like Bill and Ted to kill our main characters and then replace them. So yeah, the second movie had its own original ideas. They didn't do that much the time traveling. They had like the phone booth appear in the first scenes of the movie and the last scenes of the movie, but but in the second movie it's more about how the main characters have to um how can I not be that spoilerish of the plot of the second movie. The main characters are more they have to retake their identities, and I think the absurd comedy was more predominant in the second movie, which is an element I really liked. But at the same time, this is an issue that I had with the first and the second movie. It's like they kind of lose a little their focus. They kind of I don't know exactly. They stay there too long, or they start diluting the plot. They don't put that many interesting things there. Like they have these elements that are original, but they don't really have something very interesting to do. But still, these movies are very fun. And the second movie, The Bogus Journey, I really liked that they brought back some of the main characters from the supporting characters from the second movie. George Carlin didn't play that much of a role in the second movie. Um, Also, I liked their chemistry with Def. That was really fun. Um, all in all, these are really fun 90s movies. So you have like a nostalgic feel from the 90s. I really recommend these two movies. The soundtrack didn't remain with me that much. The songs were okay, but I wasn't like very impressed by them. Mm, all in all, I can't wait for the third movie, and I'd say the first movie, which is more quotable and you could see how the original ideas came to be, I'd say that the first movie it's an 8 out of 10. But the second movie, it's more close to 7 out of 10. It kind of got boring for me at the end.